Okay. Well, that's I have in the past. I just don't think I'm lucky enough to win the big prize. I guess I've never been that lucky.
Yeah.
Some guys I know just are always winning silly contests, but this is not really a silly contest.
Might win a couple of bucks. That'd be
funny. Yeah, that would I be. I never had that much luck at the casino since we went to a casino form of gambling. I guess I just wasn't that good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Trooper Paul Gardner, of course, with Iowa Highway Patrol. You mentioned just before we went on the air that our death toll on the highways is up a little bit this year.
Yeah, we just bumped up to 268 today.
Do you know the average or not?
I don't know the average, but I do know this. I'm looking at this on the website, which is the numbers provided by the Iowa Department of Transportation. And last year, 2021, this time we had 267. So we are only up one from that, but we were at 260 in 2020, 257 and 246 and 262 respectively as you go down through the years. So 268 is a 5-year high for traffic fatalities.
5-year high, but not by much, right?
Not by much. We're only up one there for a while. Over the summer, we were up considerably higher, and thankfully some of those numbers have starting to drift off, but we are always trying to get under 300 traffic fatalities within a year's time, but we have yet to do that with 268 still. With 2.5 months ago, we still got two big holidays to come through. We'll hope. Let's hope so. But obviously, we'd love to see zero, but each year. But that's obviously not going to happen. But
let's talk about this a little bit. Do you have any information on where most of the accidents are at? Or I would assume they're in the areas where there's a higher population, Des Moines or
actually. This year so far, out of the 268, that number there, 189 of them are rural.
Really?
So it's out in the wide open, that could include interstate and all, but they are out in the country. And urban urban is 79. So 110 more were out in the country, out in the
on the highway,
on the rural highways, right?
Rural highways,
right? Rural highways.
I may have told you before that many years ago I drove semi, and there's nothing worse than coming down a 2-lane highway in Iowa when you're doing 60 miles an hour and you weigh 40 tons.
Yeah.
And you look to your right, and coming from an off-road, a side road, is a very old person who stops as they should and then looks at you like they don't see you. They're blinking into the sun. The worst is when the sun's at my back when I was driving truck.
Yeah.
Believe me, I've driven truck in some of the biggest cities in this country, and it's easier in the big cities. A lot of people say, well, how can you, growing up in a small town, drive in those big cities? Well, first you get used to it. It's a little scary at first.
Yeah.
But really, the city people are used to driving in thick traffic, heavy traffic, with trucks, and trucks just move over. And the big city truck drivers told me this: if you want to change lanes, just hit your turn signal, make sure you're okay, and they'll get out of the way because they're trained to it. But out here, that's really not the case.
Story. Yeah.
They expect the trucks to look out for them.
Yeah.
And we try because we know that.
Sure.
But I'll tell you,
well,
it gets a little exciting.
Yeah. And there's us, you obviously a semi that's going to hit a car. We know who's going to win that battle one. And
but who wants that?
Nobody wants to be in part. Be a part of that. So
I could never just walk away and say, "Well, it's a tough break." I could.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've covered some of the crashes where we had one over by Duncombe here about a year or so ago, maybe 2 years ago. But gentleman who was driving westbound Highway 20 must have been distracted by a map, because we saw the map that had just been completely obliterated by all the airbag and all that. But it was
trying to look at a map while driving.
Right. And there was a semi that was taking a right turn towards Duncombe, and he didn't see the semi slowing down or turning. The semi driver had his blinker on and was doing everything right. But I think that was emotionally hard on that driver, because the guy ended up dying from that car crash. And I remember seeing that, and that was they were pulling the driver from the car out, and you knew that this isn't going to end well.
No,
unfortunately,
it really didn't do that.
No, it didn't. But the semi driver really took that one hard, and we had to tell him this was not your fault. This was not your doing, because you did nothing wrong. He happened to be distracted and wasn't paying attention to the road.
Truck drivers really are the best drivers in the world. Now, there's some idiots out there.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But if there's somebody we know has been drinking by we try, I'm
Mhm.
referencing back to those days. The drivers will get a hold of the highway patrol
Oh, sure,
or the
yeah.
sheriff's department or
Yeah,
whatever in a
yeah.
minute.
Yeah, and their tolerance for or the tolerance for alcohol for semi drivers driving a CMB
Mhm.
are a lot lower. So I mean, talking about the 0.08 legal limit, but they're actually at 0.04.
Yeah.
So they can get in trouble if they've. So that's not much alcohol is allowed in their system. For,
I was driving toward Miami once, many years ago, and I saw this lady in a little old. It was a little old Datsun pickup. Everybody remembers a Datsun pickup, and it had somebody had gone to a hardware store and got some gray spray paint. It wasn't primer; it was just sprayed with this spray paint. And I could tell she was an older woman. She was about 45. I was a younger man. But anyway, she kept hitting the side rails every time. We had a lot of side rails there because
Sure.
we're going through kind of wet land. And I didn't see anybody around, but I got on the microphone and said, Smokey, there's this lady here at mile marker, wherever it was, and she's hitting the side rails. And the voice came right back, bang. Where? And I said, and I gave him the mile marker, and we wanted a description of the truck. And 3 vehicles came out of nowhere. The state,
Okay.
they call it the state police in Florida, I believe, which is the same as the state patrol.
Yeah.
And a deputy sheriff of that area, and they rounded the lady up. The lady needed some kind of help, really, because she was going to get herself killed.
Yeah.
And who wanted that?
If not somebody.
But I was just so surprised that they were sitting out there somewhere.
Yeah. Up until just a few years ago, we had CBs in our cars.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. The first couple of cars I had actually were and we had CBs, functioning CBs. We could chat with the truckers and they'd chat with us. If you ever got lost, you never just turn on CB because you'll hear there's a Smoky Bear at mile marker 126 or whatever. So that's where I'm at. Okay.
Yeah, we talked a lot about that. Yeah.
And that's such a, nowadays you have cell phones are the big thing. That back the 70s, that the CB was the thing to have. It was a culture in itself.
Yes, it was. You don't have the CB radios anymore?
Not anymore. Not in our cars. Not on the scanner we have. We can pick up some CB traffic, but we can't communicate with the truckers.
I'll be darned.
But I kind of missed my CB, to be honest. That was kind of fun to have. And it was nice chatting with them guys because especially if you're working midnights and hit a winter storm or something that you'd find out where a crash was in a hurry because they'd probably be the first to tell you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, they're out there at 2:00 in the morning. You don't have anybody to
all
talk
hours
to.
of the night. Oh, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They're just on the road.
They're just on the road.
Yep.
We do have a big game at Iowa State. I think Iowa State's in town against Texas this week, I believe.
I think they're actually in Texas.
Are they in Texas?
I do believe so. I could be wrong on that, but I think they're off next week and then 29th to come back and play Oklahoma.
Okay. And Hawkeyes have a bye this week, I believe.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So anyway, by the way, I forgot to ask if you have a question or comment for Trooper Paul Gardner, it's 515-955-1400, 515-955-1400. I just got a text from a listener. DOT enforcement should have same duties as IHP. Do you believe that? Apparently, this is a question that the DOT enforcement people should have the same duties as the Iowa Highway Patrol.
They are regulated to weights and measures, registration, and certain traffic laws, mostly concerning commercial motor vehicles.
Yeah.
So right now they are by code they're regulatory. However, there's a push to get them, full police powers. There's been talk about putting them under the Department of Public Safety, so they would be a sister agency to us. That's still in the works legislatively, so I don't know where that'll end up.
What do you think of DOT or IHP both arresting farmers wholesale for blocking the highways?
That's a question I don't have much experience with. I guess I haven't.
Let's just haul in farmers who are driving those enormous pieces of equipment on the highway.
That's a good time to talk about that because we have a lot of farmers out there with harvest and they're going to be swinging through. So there's certain areas like Highway 20. Last time I was on, we talked about the truck stop out there, or I don't think they want to call it a truck stop, but it's the Travel Plaza, Marker 126.
Marker 126.
Poplar Avenue. That's coming in. We do see a fair amount of farm traffic that does come through there because they are allowed to.
At Marker 126?
Right, along Highway 20.
I know where it is, yeah.
But when we see 10 to 12,000 cars go through there, that's the estimate from the DOT that they go through there. And so we definitely, if you can avoid Highway 20, by all means do so. But we do see some farm machinery come across 20. As long as you're, you have to have your slow moving vehicle sign if you're under 35 miles per hour, and be lit up, from sunset to sunrise. But it's always a good time to have your lights, flashing lights, just anything for visibility. But where they can't be is Highway 20 past Highway 17 and over towards the interstate, because that's full control access. That means any portion of Highway 20.
Now, by they, you mean big farm machinery.
Right. So slow moving vehicles, because that's when you have a minimum speed limit. So anything under 40 miles per hour, you can't be out on Highway 20 or I-35 in those areas.
Now 17, let's see, where does that
So it'd be Highview and east.
Yeah.
Like towards
north
Webster
and south,
City,
right.
I-35.
North and south. It goes clear up to the border, I think.
Yes.
Border.
Right.
So they cannot be west of that
or east of Highway 17, because you have a minimum speed limit. So if they're traveling below 40 miles per hour, which most of them do.
Yeah, sure.
They're not
east of that,
right? East of Highway 17. So it'd be the Highview.
Yeah,
Webster
it's
City,
Highview,
right.
Webster City.
Every now and again, we'll see some of them creeping across Highway 20, and you have to tell them take the next exit. You're not allowed to be out here. So some do, but we're back in the spring. We saw a few tractors coming through there. We had to warn them, just stay off of this, because you're not allowed to be out here because we have a minimum speed limit. So, but other than that, we just want to urge them to make sure they have their lights going, their slow moving vehicle placards on the back if they're traveling under 35 miles per hour. And if you're not a farmer out there on the roadways, please pay special attention to the farmers, because you will encounter one at some point.
Yeah.
Driving a combine or a tractor.
Yeah, we got to be careful of that.
Yeah.
Especially after dark.
Yes.
As it gets dark.
Southeast Iowa, we just recently had a fatality involving a semi and a tractor.
Oh, it happens every year, and that's terrible.
Yeah.
That's too bad.
So we want to make sure that people are just paying attention to what they're doing, and
not
driving while texting or distracted, and driving the speed limit.
And most of all, you get a little tired of sitting, if you're going for a while behind a big combine or something, you get a little tired and you start taking chances.
Yes. Yeah.
And
they're out all hours of the night. And,
yeah, that's right. But you have to be very careful.
Yes,
don't get that impatient where you get in trouble.
Oh yeah. People get, packed up behind a combine or something, and then they'll try to pass them, even in no passing zones. They'll try to pass them, which is illegal. It can't be left of center in a solid line, or at an intersection or railroad crossing. Some of the areas where you're prohibited to pass, it applies even if you're passing a tractor. I think some people think it's just a tractor, but no, even if you're left of center, you can't be passing.
Okay. Trooper Paul Gardner of the Iowa Highway Patrol is our guest here at AM 1400 KBFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. If you have a question or comment, it's 515-955-1400. That's 955-1400. You should talk to Trooper Gardner today, because usually if you're talking to a trooper, he's leaning in your driver's side window. So go ask away.
Become quite friendly.
Well, that's
a little roadside fellowship.
A little roadside fellowship. Well, it happens. It happens. That's for sure. Yeah, the biggest thing I think is we have to watch out. I was a little surprised here about the map reading. For a long time, I caught myself looking at my phone while I was driving on 70 miles an hour. Some places on 20 you can go 70.
65 out there on Highway 20.
Oh well, that always means 70. Paul,
can you tell me exactly when you were doing this?
I thought there were a couple of places not close to
on I-35. There's 70 miles per hour. The only time you'll see 70 is on an interstate. So like I-35, I-80, I-29, I-380. Then you'll see 70 miles. But on Highway 20, it's all 65. And there are some instances where they drop it down to 55 for certain reasons, if it's going near a town or something. But it's 65 on Highway 20. So I'm glad you admitted that to me, because
I usually go 70. I did. That's two mistakes with Highway Patrolman I made in 3 weeks. The other one was going south right there by Celotex. I crossed Old 20, and a young trooper pulled me over and says, "Well, you're in the wrong lane." He gave me a warning ticket. I guess we
just recently.
Yeah, within the last 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks. He was a young man.
Okay.
Very young guy. He was, he just explained what happened. And,
all right. Very good.
And I told him the truth. I said, I've been going south out of that lane for 30 years. I had no idea. I didn't have any idea. Anyway, let's talk about mile markers. We may have done it before, but we mention mile markers every now and then. How far apart are mile markers in the state of Iowa?
1 mile apart.
Every mile.
Right. 1 mile every mile.
Right, and it's east to west. And how does that
Or
go?
it's
again?
west to east.
West to east.
Right. So at let's say we'll keep this simple. Like at Sioux City on Highway 20, that's where you're going to start at the 1 mile marker,
Mhm.
and then it ends in Dubuque. And goodness, I want to say I can't remember exactly, but I want to say it's like a 309 mile marker,
Something like
like that over in Dubuque.
Yeah.
But like we're in the 120, the 121, 124 exits are for Fort Dodge. We're right in the 120 mile markers for Fort Dodge, and
Okay.
same with mile markers that go from south to north. So at the Missouri line on I-35, it'd be the 1 mile marker.
Okay.
And it just increases from there.
All right. Well, that's a good thing to know.
Yeah. It's good to know too, if you get into a crash or see a crash, or if you have to, your car breaks down and need assistance, at least it's good to know where you're at least have an idea. So pay attention to those mile markers, because it can help you out someday. And everyone thinks, GPS, I'll be able to track where I'm at. And that's not always the case.
Well, we're getting pretty soon. We're going to have ice on the road. Somebody's going to wind up in the
I know.
ditch.
It happens every year.
Oh yeah, it happens to me
yeah.
sometime. Look at this nefarious character that just walked in over here.
Hey, good.
Now, by nefarious character, I'm talking Hank Ambrose. He's going to talk sports here in just a few minutes.
Yeah. No, we love Hank.
Do we love Hank?
Well,
All right.
I do. I think he's great.
Okay.
Well, thank you.
He's a babe magnet. I don't know if you knew that.
Well, I kind of figured.
One look at him, you got to figure the girls love him, right?
I'm just lucky to be married. That's all.
What is that country song? What is that? Walker Hayes has got a song called AA. I'm just trying to keep my wife from figuring out
That's right.
that I married up and she married way down. That's probably could be said for all of us, at one time or another in life. So, Paul, you got anything else, or what are we talking about?
Well, I've really got nothing else unless you wanted to discuss anything in particular.
I can talk all day, Paul, but
I know you can. That's why you're at where you're at. That's
but
where
I don't know if any of it would be relevant to the
no. We just want to remind people, hey, just don't drink and drive, don't text and drive, and obviously if you're
watch out with the farm equipment.
Yep, watch out with the farm equipment, because that's a big one right now. Last year, we're talking about drunk driving too. Last year, 35% of our fatalities were drunk driving related.
Still,
yep. So that's a big chunk, and 100% of those are preventable.
Yeah, they are really.
So we just please don't drink and drive. Don't drive drugged, because I know that some people drive under the influence of narcotics or prescription drugs, and please be aware of that as well.
Okay, Trooper Paul Gardner has been our guest. Paul will be in from time to time. It's always good to have you here, sir. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine, the doctor. 100.
And we're going to talk sports here a little bit with Hank Ambrose, our sports director. How you doing, Hank?
Oh, I'm fantastic.
All right, there you go.
Fixing the camera for you.
There you go.
I
Thank
went
you
to
very much.
college for that.
Did you go to college for that?
Yeah, a little bit.
All right. Okay. I used to do that over there. I really worked with a lot of people on their voice, how to present themselves. Because boy, if you don't have that in the radio business, especially, you're lost. But
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the newscasters, especially guys, Sean Hannity is a very successful broadcaster, but he yells.
Oh yeah.
Oh, he yells, and he's in television, so he uses his facial expressions better than he uses his voice. Is what I'm trying to get there.
He's very animated.
He is very
You
animated.
see that on the football field and basketball a lot, even, and yeah, that goes a far way. The animation everywhere.
Yes, it does. So, the Dodgers are playing where tonight?
Yeah, they're going to be at Denison tonight. Going to be another tough battle. They got 2 games left in the regular season,
Yeah.
but just by a slim chance, they still have an opportunity to make the playoffs, and they got to win.
They
out.
have an opportunity to make the playoffs.
They do.
How do they do that?
So in the class of 4A,
Yeah.
there is a total of 6 different districts, and they take the top 2 teams from each district, and then all in out, they'll have 4 wild card teams determined by the best record. Now, from where they sit right now, they have a 3-4 record, and there are 3 teams in our district that are 4-3.
Mhm.
So they have a chance to claim that second place prize still. That's still up for grabs. In order for that to happen, they'd have to win out this tonight and then take on Lamar's and get the victory there. And then Webster City would have to lose out. Now, that began last week. Webster City did lose to Spencer last week. Tonight, Webster City plays Storm Lake.
No kidding.
Yeah, so there's still a chance they
So
cannot.
that's going to be a good game.
Certainly.
You being from Webster City, you do expect the Lynx to win the game, right?
Well, I don't want to say because I'm from Webster City, but Webster City's been very successful this
Yeah,
year.
they've been kicking it.
The only 3 losses they've had have been to top 15 teams based on, I guess, experts analysis, of course, but pretty good measures,
You know who beat them right off the top of your head?
Yeah, Spencer is one of
The
them.
Tigers.
Humboldt is another one. And then I do not remember the second team that beat them, but Humboldt actually beat them their very first game of the season.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Humboldt that good?
Humboldt's amazing.
Really?
They're the best team in 3A. And
Wow,
I
good for them.
could even argue the best team in the state. They are
At
fantastic
3A or just overall?
overall.
Really?
But specifically 3A, they have a really good battle tonight as well. They're taking on Nevada, I believe.
Nevada.
Yeah.
Yeah, over there. Well, I know in the past that Nevada has been halfway decent.
Yes.
I was unaware they were that tight now.
Well, last year, to me, it was the game of the year last year for regular season play, where it was number 3 Humboldt taking on number 1 Nevada at the home of Humboldt.
That's
which
right.
really catapulted the Wildcats to go forward, which they ended up making it to the state championship game. They did lose,
Mhm.
and they have lost a lot of very talented players this year. Their offense is performing a little worse. It's a little different than it was last year, but
Mhm.
their defense is even better. I
Yeah.
mean, amazing. That's really what is the heart of that team. That defense is insane.
That's interesting. It really is.
They went 6 weeks without giving up a single touchdown.
Well, go Wildcats, man.
And go Wildcats. I'm jumping on the bandwagon. Come on.
I'm jumping on the bandwagon too.
That's right. I talked about with Coach Elman, who is only in his like 3rd season as a head coach there, maybe 4th, is when I was in high school, personally, I hated Humboldt, whether it was a big rivalry.
Well, you were in school then.
Well, yeah, with Webster City, of course. So that's a big rivalry, of course,
Oh,
whether
yeah.
it was wrestling, football.
Oh, yeah.
So the huge rivalry between the two cats
Right.
of the North Central Conference, or which was the North Central Conference. So we joke about, yeah, I used to hate you guys, but now I'm almost rooting for you since you're, in 3A, you're in a system where you're close by, and it's good for them.
The first football game, high school game I ever played was against Humboldt. We won 6-0. But
No
that was
kidding.
like a fresh soft game back in the mid 60s somewhere.
Yeah.
One of our guys, I still remember his name. Steve Wilrett intercepted a pass, or maybe it wasn't an interception. Maybe Humboldt kicked off and he ran it back. But he was a good athlete, good wrestler, good football player.
Yeah.
And I don't know what he lives down in Omaha now. Not that it makes sense.
Were the mascots the same?
I believe they were the Bulldogs, Algona Bulldogs, and I'm sure it was still the Wildcats.
Yeah, I know, and I know some teams have changed colors over the years. I remember hearing that Webster City used to wear red. I think in the '60s, I've heard.
Webster City wore red. I don't recall that.
Yeah.
Algona wore red and black.
Hmm.
Red away, black at home. I don't remember Webster City doing that. Humboldt, to my knowledge, as I remember, has always been blue.
Yeah,
I know. What were Webster City's color now that I'm thinking about it?
purple and gold now.
Purple and gold. I remember Eagle Grove wearing purple way back in the day. I mean, they had purple helmets, which I thought looked ridiculous. No offense, Eagle Grove. I don't know if that's what they still do now or not.
I don't know.
Yeah, they had purple.
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe they do. But I didn't know that about Webster City. I sure remember when I was in school. Of course, this was when I was in school. It was probably before your parents were born. But Webster City was his dog when it came to football.
Oh, yeah.
They were beating everybody.
With Dick Ty,
Yeah,
Coach Dick Ty. Yep.
Coach Dick Ty. And then we used to beat Emmitsburg all the time back when I was a kid.
Okay.
That was a tune-up game. But then the Catholic school closed in Emmitsburg and merged with the public school.
Okay.
And then Emmitsburg in the 70s and 80s under Dwayne, the Iowa Central.
Kevin Twait.
Yeah, Dwayne Twait. That's his dad. He was
Dwayne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Emmitsburg was a dog for a long time.
No kidding.
Yeah, and the Bulldogs, the Algona Bulldogs, used to beat them in all kinds of things. But then Emmitsburg came back. They had a great wrestling team. Algona had a great wrestling team in the late 60s, early 70s.
Sure.
They were state champs a couple of times, maybe more than that.
Yeah, I know swimming is big up there right now. I don't know.
Swimming?
Swimming, yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good.
That's about all I know for Emmitsburg, I guess.
Oh, you're talking Emmitsburg.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, times change.
Yeah.
Times change. I don't know. I've been to I have relatives in Emmitsburg. I've been there many, many, many times. Nice town. I always liked it.
Yeah.
Went up there St. Patrick's Day back in the old days and don't remember how I got home, but that's another story from my depraved youth. But it's always been a good town.
Sure.
Actually, all of the towns in our area, Clarion, Eagle Grove, they have good people in them, and I'm glad to be living in. Have lived most of my life in this part of the country. It's a good place. It's a good place. We don't have to worry about some of the things they have to worry about in other places in the country.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, there I am reminiscing again. We want to talk about what's happening today and now. So you're not going to make a pick tonight with the Fort Dodge game. You don't know.
Well, okay. So I tell you what, Denison, they started off a little slow, but they actually beat Lamar's last week, which many would see as an upset. Including myself. I thought Lamar's would get the victory, which is another game that the Dodgers needed to have happen, is Denison beating Lamar's. Denison, they run a system kind of similar to Fort Dodge and Iowa Central, a lot of stuff in the gun. They really like to work the flats. When they run the ball, it's probably going to be up the middle in a pistol formation.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they like to pass short. So it's kind of that new school type of stuff, which is really nice because the Dodgers have been seeing the old of the old school for the past 3 weeks. And I'm ready to get back into some new school stuff. Yeah.
I'm ready as well.
Yeah.
I'm ready as well. Well, how about St. Edmunds then? We got to talk St. Edmunds and 8-man football.
Absolutely. So St. Edmunds, they got a matchup. Just left my mind at the top of my moment. But I tell you what, once I get to their side, I'd like to bring this up for the St. Edmund Gales, if you mind.
No,
Michael Nugent, who is a gymnastics athlete who is just phenomenal. He's a kid that goes to St. Edmund Gales, and now they don't have any gymnastic program, of course, there, but he goes and trains down at Des Moines, and I haven't heard exactly from him. I'm looking to talk to him sometime and kind of talk about his journey and such, but he has gotten multiple Division I offers to go and do gymnastics at schools, and right now he's verbally committed to go to the Ohio State Buckeyes.
Really?
And he's a kid that he can flip, man. He's super uber athletic. I believe he's on the golf team as well, but I believe it's golf and gymnastics are the two things he does. But he's a great mind as well. And so shout out to him. He's done some great stuff. And then
Yeah, that sounds like a great talent.
oh yeah, so I'm looking forward to talk with him. But GTRA, that's who the Gills take on tonight. GTRA
Is that Grettinger and up that way, or
yeah.
okay?
They're 6-1 on the season. The Gales sit at 4-3. The Gales, they have a slim shot in making the playoffs. GTRA, you could say, is at the top of their district, but unlike 4A football, in 8-man football, they take the top 3,
Mm-hmm.
and then they take another out of their like 10 districts. They take 2 wild card teams rather than 4 like 4A football. Which in order to make it, the Gales would have to make it as a wild card team.
Really?
Yes,
Okay.
they would.
Well, that's the Dodgers too, isn't it? Are the Dodgers wild card, or are they just going to straight up make it if they win?
Dodgers cannot. That's the tricky thing about the Dodgers district, is because there's so many teams that are either 4-3 or 3-4. You can't possibly make it as a wild card team, because there's teams already with 6 wins that are going to finish 3rd in their district. So you can't make it as a wild card team, but you can make it as that 2nd place finish.
Okay.
So that's what the Dodgers will be looking out for.
Yeah, I bet they will.
Yep.
And they're away. They're down in Denison.
Yep, they're going to be at Denison tonight, where I'll be on call, and then
Are you going to Denison?
Yep.
Have you ever been to Denison?
I don't think I have.
You know,
I think I've maybe have wrestled there or something, but I don't think I've drove there myself. So this is going to be a new journey for me.
yeah, one of the worst towns in the whole state.
Oh, okay. I'll take you. Oh, sure. I don't know.
And I say that because I'm still mad about those 2 guys, those radio guys in Des Moines who held a contest. What's the worst city in the state of Iowa?
Okay.
And we won.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was us and Marshalltown. Marshalltown? We're worse than Marshalltown? Let me call BS on that.
Well, okay. But what's Denison have to do with it, Mike?
Well, Marshalltown and Denison are very similar.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Uh,
So, yeah, every time I hear one of these towns, it's always like, Fort Dodge, oh, dirty Dodge, dirty Dodge. Oh, shut up, man.
yeah.
We're a cool town. We have cool people here.
That's right. We do.
That's
Me and
right.
you.
That's right. Well, there's a start. There's a start. So, yeah, now refresh my memory again about the 8-man rules. I mean,
Sure.
do you get 3 downs or 4?
So, yeah, you still get 4 downs.
4 downs.
The field is shorter and the field is skinnier. So rather than crossing at the 50-yard line, you'd cross at the 40-yard line, if that makes sense. And then on each
Say
side,
that again, please.
instead of crossing at like the 50-yard
Yeah,
line,
right.
you'd cross at the 40-yard line.
All right. So the field's shorter. It's 80 yards.
It's 80 yards. The end zone are as deep as regulation, so they're still like 15 yards deep,
Right.
but skinnier, much skinnier. So they take like 16 and a half feet off of each side. So it's like 33 feet, like skinnier, which is a big difference. I remember last time we talked, you talked about seeing the orange stripe that they painted out at Dodger Stadium.
Yeah.
Yep,
That faked me out when the first time I went out to a St. Edmund game.
certainly.
I mean, guys were stepping out of bounds, and I thought, what? They're still on the field.
That's right. And the special teams is huge, much bigger in 8-man football, because there's so much more room to run. I mean, they had to make it skinnier. Otherwise, just a total of 16 people on a football field rather than having 22. I mean, it's ridiculous how many times a team will score in a single game.
Right.
I mean, maybe you can average, I don't know, a total of 28-21, would you maybe say, is an average score in high school football for 11-man?
Mhm.
Well, an 8-man, each team, if you don't score like 50 apiece, then it's a weird game. Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, maybe so. You know, maybe that's it. I understand the Loftusweiler kid is one of the stars of St. Edmund.
Fantastic. JT Loftusweiler.
JT
Yep.
Loftusweiler. Is he the quarterback or running back?
He is the quarterback, but he uses his legs a whole lot. He may even, I think he leads them in rushing yards. He is a guy that, as a sophomore, started about in the 3rd or 4th game that season. Caleb Schaefer was the starting quarterback up to that point. Now, Caleb Schaefer, he's now switched to more of a hybrid flex player type role where they might use him as a slot receiver or wing back,
Right.
dish him around, and maybe even try to use him still throwing the football. But JT Loffersweiler, he's the man. You got to go out and see that kid. He can move.
I believe you. I
Yeah.
do. I do. I have been out to see him.
Oh, sure.
Yeah. They have one smaller player there that's a pretty good little player. I don't think it's JT. I know it's not JT Loffersweiler, but
Maybe it's Miracle.
that could be.
Does that sound right? Sam Miracle.
That could be, yeah.
Yeah,
He moves around out there pretty good.
Here's the thing about this Gales team. So this is only their second season since jumping over to 8-man football. They have 26 players on the full roster. 18 of them are freshmen, sophomores. Ridiculous, isn't that?
Yes, it
18
is.
out of 26 are underclassmen, freshmen, sophomores, and they still play freshman football. So what they do is they get the kids that don't necessarily start, and they take all the freshmen out, so
Right.
they get an extra game in the season, which I love because those freshman football games will play on like a Tuesday or a Wednesday,
Mhm.
maybe Monday, whatever it is. So these freshmen and underclassmen, which the majority of them are starting, get to play an extra twice as many games this season. So instead of closing the year playing 7 games, they close playing 14.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's talk about the University of Iowa and Iowa State real quickly. And
Absolutely.
we should talk UNI since this is the station that carries UNI. The Hawkeyes have a bye week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. While we let the latest Brian Ferentz interview sink in. My God, how arrogant is that man?
I every single day I see more and more articles about the hate on Spencer Petras and
Oh, then
Um,
letting him take the fall. I mean, the kid's getting ripped all over the country. I mean,
Yeah.
most of the sport, I think it was Sports Illustrated, or maybe it wasn't Sports Illustrated, but one of the major online sports magazine named Spencer Petras the worst quarterback in the country.
yeah, I just saw
And there sit the Ferentzes. Oh, we believe in our plan.
I just saw a video.
God.
I just watched a video diary on exactly like that. That historically Petras is the worst quarterback that the FBS have,
Yeah.
something pretty crazy,
And he sat up there last weekend, Spencer Petras, looking like a wounded puppy,
Yeah.
and took full responsibility for the offense. And there's that big fathead Brian Ferentz who makes $900,000 a year.
Yeah.
And and a day or two later, he's in an interview on Hawk Central, and a reporter says, "What would be the harm of allowing another quarterback to try it?" And Brian Ferentz says, "Well, what would be the good?"
Oh, is that what he said?
God,
Goodness.
what would be the good? Well, you might see if a quarterback could not be the worst quarterback in the country.
Yeah.
You got a pretty good kid back there in Padilla.
Oh, yeah.
And why he's still there, I have no idea. Why he's not in the transfer portal, I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, if his head coach and his offensive coach are that dumb or arrogant or both, why not leave?
Well, yeah, who knows? Maybe now is he in a situation where he is an upperclassman? Is Padilla already a senior? I guess I'm not
I don't
even
think
for sure.
so. Somebody call us if you know what year in school is Padilla played. This is go ahead. Go ahead. I'll try to look him up online and see what we have here. What about the Cyclones? They're playing who? Texas?
Yes. And horns are down. That's for sure. If you know me, you know I'm a big Iowa State fan, and I especially do not like Texas. And that goes for every single sport. Hate the Dallas Cowboys,
Right.
Texas Longhorns. I'm a big Philly sports fan as well for all my major sports. So that kind of makes sense. So yeah, I'm super excited for this upcoming game, especially because Texas, they've been kind of struggling this year, and now they're going to leave the Big 12.
Yeah.
And
Good
we're
riddance.
gonna kick them on the behind right out the door.
We'll spank them right out. Yeah, they think they're going to do a lot better in the SEC. I realize they made the move. No, he is a senior. Padilla's a
Oh,
senior.
he is a senior.
So this kid just got screwed by coming to Iowa because he's from Colorado.
Hmm.
God, that's just terrible. Yeah. Listen, if you're a good football player in the state of Iowa, don't go to the University of Iowa because it's an offensive player. I mean, we just had that Aaron Graves go down to Iowa. Okay, I'll go with that. But wow.
Well, Iowa, they'll rebound. I know they will.
You think so?
They always seem to do. And the thing is, like Iowa, despite putting
I
out.
guess who cares if they do? If you're Gary Barta, you know. Well, rebound, no rebound. That's okay. Just keep him in there. You know, Randy Koolman, he'll be on. Him and Nevin will be on here. He and Nevin will be on here later this afternoon. Told me that Ferentz's buyout, if they fire him, is $42 million.
They're not
Now,
going to fire him.
No, I mean, but let's just pause here for a second. Ferentz is going to be 65. You know, what kind of bonehead gives a 65-year-old coach who has a very, to my mind, mediocre record over 24 years as a coach? Who gives him that sort of contract?
Well, it's exactly that, Mike. It's that old school. They want to keep it. It's tradition. He's family. You can't kick out grandpa for losing this season. You know, I mean, he's going to come back. And Iowa, they've done a good job in the Big Ten, which is historically known to be one of the best defensive conferences of all time.
The Big Ten West, where we never play Ohio State.
Well, I got to say, you know, once we find an offense that's bad this season for the Hawkeyes, which inevitably,
when will that be, Hank? Give me a light at the end of the tunnel and tell me it's not a train.
I'm getting there. Inevitably, I can't say that word, but it's going to get there at some point, which this season it just did. And of course, we run into tough Big Ten defenses, and yeah, there you go.
I guess so. I don't know. I read an article on Michigan today, and it said, well, Michigan's 6-0 under very subpar competition.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, that's what I thought. Very subpar. They're 6-0, but their opposition has been, well, you know, Iowa.
Yeah.
You know, I get that enough from Nebraska fans. Well, you're Iowa.
Iowa, this has been a crazy season. That's one thing that a lot of fans are going to take away. You remember that 2022 season where we played a game that lasted till 3 a.m?
Yeah, the wind came up or the lightning came up.
Yeah, where Spencer Petras was our starter and quarterback, and he was the last place in about every statistic in the nation. And there's been a lot of crazy stuff that's been going on for Iowa, certainly.
They won that game. Who was it that they beat?
Oh, let's cheat over here. Nevada, I believe.
Nevada? I think you're right. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure it was Nevada.
Yeah, lightning. So they left Petras in the whole game. I don't think has Padilla seen the field this year?
No, not from what I know. Now I know they have done a lot with their younger talent. Like Aaron Graves. I mean, he gets more and more playing time later and later into the games.
He's ready, obviously.
Oh, certainly. I mean, and how many true freshmen can you say that he's ready as an edge rusher? He's already recorded 2 sacks on the season. Last I've checked, maybe more in limited playing time. I mean, it's Aaron Graves.
You imagine lining up against a young man 6'8", 280?
No.
I just will walk off the field. Not me, coach.
Yeah, that's right.
Not me. Yeah, but Kirk Ferentz has this annoying tendency to give the fan base the bird. You know, when the fan base is saying, why are you doing this? Why are you allowing poor Spencer Petras to twist in the wind? He'll just, he'll go radio silent, and he'll get Brian. He keeps Brian away from the mic because Brian says dumb stuff like, what good would it have been to be a quarterback?
Well,
God.
I don't know. And maybe the thing is that
we're going to have to go, Hank.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. We'll have to get that thought next week.
We will.
It's 3:00. This is KVFD, Fort Dodge, Iowa.
If you're a gearhead or not, you'll enjoy the Under the Hood Car Show every Saturday afternoon from 2 till 4 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
The search for answers in North Carolina. Lisa Brady, Fox News. Police in
All right. We got a little better picture of me
That's
now.
it. We got a better picture. I almost said Nevin Conrad.
Yeah, he's been getting a lot of ink
Well,
lately.
he has been getting a lot of ink and a lot of talk on the radio station here. How come you never became a judge, by the way? It's just not enough money in it for you.
Couldn't pass the background
Just not
test.
smart enough.
Not
Just
smart
not smart
Oh,
enough.
come on. Fort Dodge has had some pretty serious judges over the many years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're here to talk sports. We're ready to take names and talk sports. So the University of Iowa has a bye week. By the way, I'm just sick to death of Brian Ferentz. Did you see that interview with him?
I thought he handled it
I
very
did
well.
too. I thought he knocked it out
Now
of the
you're
park.
just, shut up, both of you. You're lying.
What's the upside?
Yeah.
First of all, this comes out this week. I think it was in Sports Illustrated that the worst quarterback in the country is Spencer Petras. I mean, it's somewhere on my Facebook page. It was a major sports magazine, online magazine.
But they actually did say he's the
QB rating, yeah.
QB rating,
lowest
he's the worst.
quarterback rating.
And then this big fathead, Brian Ferentz, does an interview, and a reporter asks, what would it hurt if we started another quarterback? And
what's the downside of
what's the downside?
Padilla starting?
No, I
what-
think he said upside, didn't he?
No, what's the downside? And Ferentz goes, well, what's the upside?
what's
Oh,
the-
yeah. I see.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
believe this guy? Do you believe that? And
That just came out. Oh
Yeah.
my Lord.
really, it did. I mean, how
You know, but
arrogant can you be?
Yeah.
I mean, what? And then he's asked about what was the question? Should he step down or something? You'll have to ask my dad. I thought he was working for Barta.
That's true. Yeah.
You'll have to ask the head coach. You just have to be my dad.
You know, in the Register today, that Listical had an interesting article about that interview, but he pointed out that he pointed out that last year Iowa's basketball team was like 4 and started out the Big Ten like 4-6 or something like that, and Fran McCaffrey made a change at point guard. He put Perkins in and pulled out, Desant, and Iowa went like 12-2 after that.
Mhm.
And his point was, sometimes you've got to be a good enough coach and have the guts to make a key decision like that in personnel that can be a game changer. And that Iowa went on to finish strong. They won 10 out of their last 12 games, including the Big Ten Conference Championship tournament. And so I thought that was an interesting.
Well, they actually
comment.
last year, if you'll remember, then they finally decided that Bohannon at the off guard wasn't a good spot. They put him at the point.
Yeah,
then.
they put it in the
They
point.
actually put him in
And
that
moved-
point.
and
then,
had
and
Perkins
put
at the
Perkins
2.
because
Yeah.
and it honestly, it was for whatever reason, Bohannon's much better at the point than he is at the off guard, which you would expect to be the opposite.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was true. I
Yeah.
would watch these games. I go, you got to put Bohannon at point. He seems to get so many more shots,
Yeah.
good shots at the point than he does at the off guard. And they finally did do that. And I thought that too made a difference in how productive and successful they were last year.
Yeah.
I mean, your offense is sucking that hard, and you're not open to any sort of change at all because you can't think of an upside. I mean, I know I'm usually the nasty one here, but what is that? What is that?
Well,
Now if the team goes down the tubes, it's coaching. It's
Well,
nothing
and
else.
Quite honestly, I mean, he could, and I'm not saying this happened, but whether it's Brian Ferentz or any other offensive coordinator at Iowa, if you're going to make a change at quarterback, you go get permission from the head coach to do it.
Right.
And
I
he
agree
could
with
have gone to Dad and said,
could
"Hey,
have.
coach, I think we ought to give Padilla a chance." And Kirk might have said, "No way, we're not."
That's
changing
exactly
quarterback."
what I think happened. Kirk is the
I
most
mean,
stubborn man we've ever
I
seen
get-
in coaching. We know that.
Yeah, I don't know that happened, but ultimately, all Kirk's got to do is go down to his son and say, "Make a change."
That's right.
So ultimately, and I've been, as you know, I've been a strong backer of Kirk Ferentz for years, but it's disappointing that, and I was really upset when we were way up on Nevada, and fourth quarter, all the subs are in except one position,
Mm-hmm.
quarterback.
Quarterback.
And that was Kirk Ferentz flipping a sign,
Yeah,
From
flipping
his-
us the bird. That's what he was
flipping the
doing.
bird to the Iowa fans.
Yeah,
I
I
believe.
mean,
I
it's
mean,
going to
I'm
cost
sorry.
you $42 million to get rid of me. They ain't going to do that.
Yeah.
So here,
Yeah,
fans.
I'm not gonna bend to your wishes, and because he knew if they brought
It's not
Padilla in,
about us.
Padilla probably would have got a standing ovation. You
But
know?
I don't think.
Well,
he-
no, nobody was in the stadium at that point.
Well,
So
that's right. You're
There'd be
right.
about 5 guys.
That was like
clapping. That was
1:30 in the morning.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's
Even a
right.
better time to throw them out
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
Wow. Wow.
Yeah.
I just can't believe what I'm saying. I can't, I've got to say it. Brian Ferentz doesn't look like the sharpest knife in the drawer. Never mind whether the head coach his dad wants to keep Petrus at the position, but he just didn't seem very articulate or well thought out, frankly. I mean, to be up in front of a camera like that. I mean, this isn't a young man. This isn't the first time that he's been up to bat. And
No.
he just duh.
But it's a balancing act, because what do you say? I mean,
he actually said the other things that they didn't mention. He also said were appropriate, but he got caught. I mean,
Yeah.
he just, that whole deal with downside, upside. Wow. And that went viral.
Well,
It did.
He said before that, he said, I forget how he phrased it.
He said the
but-
same old thing.
Right.
The
But-
same old thing. He stayed on script.
But
well,
you-
he finished by saying, "We just believe Petrus gives us the best opportunity to win."
And what is the basis for that? What is the basis?
practice,
What is the basis for that belief?
practice.
It's either
He
gotta be-
sees him every day. He
I
sees
know.
Padilla every day. He's able to compare the two. I
And-
mean,
and-
that's
And he's trying to say that without, offending Padilla, because Listokow said in the article today, after the Kentucky game, or no, the Nebraska game last year, when the quarterbacks, Padilla was sick, Petrus, and he says if Petrus was hurt, they'd have to put in Deuce Hogan, okay, and Ferentz alluded in the press conference, said something about it was said in a way that made Hogan's look like he was worthless.
yeah, I remember actually.
And you know what happened after that?
Mm.
Hogan left.
Then why not?
Right.
Why is
But,
Padilla
but
there?
the point
He's
is,
a senior, I guess.
the point
No.
is they're trying to be careful of what they say.
Padilla's he could go play somewhere else next year. He
Yeah.
could take a red shirt this year
Yeah.
if he doesn't. I think
why
he's-
didn't he?
well, and that's a really good question because
Well, I mean, and he doesn't have to declare it now. I mean, and maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're thinking, but you can play in 4 games and
Right.
still get a red shirt. So, so I don't know. It's really mind-boggling when you're 131st out of 132 schools in offense,
Mhm, right.
and your QB rating is almost last, if not last, and you're sitting there saying, "Hey, we're making progress, and we're sticking with our plan," and it's like the Titanic's
Nevin, you
going
say
down.
that Brian sees what Petrus does in practice every day. Does he see what's happening in the games? Because Spencer, I know he's not working with a good O line, but he goes down pretty easy, and he
Yes, he
hasn't been
does.
able. He has not been able to avoid tacklers either.
Right.
he's got
So if-
heavy feet.
He's got heavy feet.
No, he does.
He's got
There's
the whole
nothing he
thing.
can do about that. And Padilla moves better. And what's so odd about it is that they have seen what Padilla can do when he plays or starts in a Big Ten football game.
3-0.
3-0 last year, which really makes this all the more strange.
That's what I'm talking about.
I'm not arguing with you at all. And I don't know what's going on. If they've got themselves in a situation where we need to save face, if we put Padilla in now and he looks good, everybody goes, well, what have you been doing? That's what we've been saying, Kirk. You should have put him in games ago. I don't know. It's
That's
just
what I suspect mainly.
that it's face
I
saving
don't
and
know.
stubbornness. But boy, nobody likes to lose, and nobody likes going through the criticism
Right.
that both he and Brian are getting right
And
now. I mean,
Petrus.
the Register,
Oh,
they
yeah.
kind of come right at him on this deal, which never used to be that
That's
way.
right.
Listokow, from what I've
No,
read,
they never have.
Yeah.
Kirk Ferentz has had a very cozy relationship with the Cedar Rapids Gazette and the Des Moines Register, both with our sports departments. And of course, those guys want access. I mean, Listokow and whoever the head
right?
writer is.
You got to be careful.
Yeah, you do.
But-
You can't just blow the coach's kid all over the state and expect access again.
But on the other hand, you got to ask the hard question. And boy, these are hard questions easily asked because there's something going on here.
Right.
It doesn't seem to make a lot of sense
And-
why you don't at least
And
try.
from a big picture perspective, I mean, we've got an offensive line full of inexperienced players that are freshmen and sophomores.
That's a
So the
fact.
question is, how did that happen? What happened to our recruiting to where we don't have offensive linemen stepping in that are, got a little bit of experience behind them that are juniors and seniors and that sort of thing. And we're forced into using freshmen. So there's a recruiting issue there. And
Mhm.
we've always had a recruiting issue with wide receivers for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of questions more than just quote the play calling or
Mhm.
the coaching, and they're people are commenting about the offensive line coach. Well, he can only do so much with the talent he's got. I mean, so sometimes it comes down to we just don't have very good players right now. But on top of that, we all know our offense.
But we still have a tough defense. So
Right.
I mean, our boy Graves down there from Gowrie, I mean, he's a freshman and he's getting some starts. And
Well,
when he
playing time,
does,
yeah.
he's getting a little playing time. He's
Right.
got 3 sacks on the year for
right,
Yeah.
but he's not starting.
No,
Right.
he's not. But my point was for no more playing time than he has. He's got 3 sacks, and he's part of a pretty good defense.
Well, it's
I
kind
think
of
it's
like
better than pretty good.
Yeah, I do too.
yeah,
So you contrast the defensive side of the ball and their coaches
and their special teams.
and their special teams, which have won them games. And
Yeah.
how many the special teams? how many?
Of
how
which
many
both
Hmm.
Kirk Ferentz has nothing to do with.
That's right. I mean, this is a sad situation. Here.
I know it's a tough one, and it'll be interesting to see how they handle it at the end of the year because, I mean, everybody across the country, even sports writers at
That don't
Sports
cover
Illustrated,
Iowa.
yeah,
There
that
you
don't
go.
cover Iowa, are talking about. Well, the only reason the offensive coordinator hasn't been fired is because it's the coach's son, and this is why you're supposed to have nepotism rules that you follow.
We
which
do have
Iowa
a
did.
nepotism rule, by the way. At the
I said you
University
got to
of
follow
Iowa.
them, yeah.
Yeah, you would. It would be good if you followed the nepotism rule.
So
I mean, this is just we're the laughing stock. I swear to God.
well, the offense certainly is, yeah, unfortunately. And I feel bad for Petrus and I feel bad for everybody on the offense. They know that they're letting things down.
I feel sorry for Spencer Petras. Again, he looks like a puppy, and he has taken the whole thing on him. So he held a press conference last week and said,
Right.
"This is all my fault." And that damn Brian Ferentz sat there and let him take that heat like that.
Yeah.
No, it's not all on Spencer Petras.
Uh,
It's on his coach.
Well, actually, it's a collaborative effort. The offensive
Of course it
line's
is.
mediocre to poor.
research.
Petrus, the way he struck, he's slow-footed, and so he
We can
and Brian Ferentz, and plus, let me tell you, the system is really
antiquated.
antiquated, and in order to win with that system, you just really have to be good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
To be quite honest, you got to win. You got to win the line of scrimmage in a big
Yeah,
way
Big way. Yeah.
because they know what's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no mystery to what we do. There's no motion.
There's no misdirection. There's
Yeah.
no as soon as we snap the ball, the linebackers, the safeties, they know,
They know
are
what's
we passing
happening.
or are we running? And so when they know run, they're just shooting right into the gaps. And our offensive line may have done their job, but the safety comes up, fills the hole, makes a tackle at the line of scrimmage, and we blame the offensive line. Well, no, it's this.
You got
it's
8 or
the
9 guys
system.
in the box.
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the deal. Do you guys think that Spencer Petras is good enough at this level? Because I don't. I
No.
don't think
I think
he's a Division I quarterback.
Oh.
Period.
Well, unfortunately, my assessment of him, and I think he's a great young man, but when I see
there's
him-
no doubt of that.
when I
He's a
see-
fine young man.
But when I see him, when we have a guy, when it's 3rd and 8 and a guy is wide open 12 yards down the field and he doesn't see him, or if he does see him and he overthrows him by 5-10 feet, then at some point in time, you just got to say, he may look good in practice. And I remember when I was coaching basketball in college, we had practice players. And as soon as the game started, they weren't near the player they were in practice.
Mhm.
And we had other players that were all that okay in practice, but boy, you stuck them in a game and they lit it up. And it's like, man, this guy, I mean, really, that's a fact. And I'm afraid that Spencer is one of those guys that just doesn't seem to perform well when as Hayden Fry used to say, when the bullets are flying.
When
You
the
remember?
bullets are flying.
You
Yeah, I
know?
do remember that. Yeah.
And
I
Hayden
think
was an
we've
old-
all seen players like that. I can go through some back when I was doing radio for St. Ed's
yeah.
that were horrible practice players. And I'd talk to either Dick or Kibby, I mean, whoever it was after the game and go, well, I started him. This guy's terrible in practice, but by God, is he tough during the game?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're going to stay with him.
Yeah.
He goes,
Yeah.
and I remember vividly a couple different examples of that back in the day. And one was an all-state running back. And I remember is Jimmy Bakken. And they said he was the worst
Jim?
basketball or worst practice player you've ever seen. And they wouldn't play him. They finally put him in there and they going, well, this is a little different ball player than we usually see. And he was first team all-state. He was a
Wow.
terrific running back.
Yeah.
But that does happen.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I just, I just think that's how I analyze Petrus. He just doesn't seem to have it at game time because, he's missing.
If he doesn't have it at game time, he's not good enough for the division. I mean,
Right. Yeah. I mean, I watch I watch a lot of college football, and I haven't seen a quarterback yet that I would say I'd take him over Petrus. I'd take him over to Pete. Every team seems to have a better quarterback than Iowa. And
it seems that way.
and
And
and,
Petrus-
and I understand too. We don't have any speed on the outside.
Mhm.
Okay. We do have a good tight end. And if you notice
Couple of them.
and what we're doing with our tight ends is we're splitting them out to wide receiver now.
Yeah, and that done.
Because our wide receivers can't get separation, and our best wide receiver, Keegan Johnson,
Has
is
not played really, has he?
no, he's played one game, he's
Yeah.
been hurt,
Yeah.
and he's the fastest guy on the team. And
Our best
that's
wide receivers playing for Purdue.
yeah, right, exactly, and getting about 10 catches a game.
Yeah.
Well,
but-
top receivers aren't going to play for Iowa. They're not going to play for Brian Ferentz.
Well, and
They-
see, that's from a long-term perspective. We already lost a decommit on a 4-star running
Yeah.
back. And so a year like this, especially on offense, you got to worry about how, what are we going to do for recruiting? Because it's going to be tough.
There's some consequences because we're getting a lot of publicity and it's not good.
Yeah, right.
I mean, if we're getting, and I've seen it again in more than one national magazine, online magazine, sports magazines, that Iowa sucks and we have the worst quarterback ever. And I hate to see that for Petrus's sake, but you cannot argue with the facts. You can't argue with those numbers.
Well, I will just tell you, Petrus, it's just, you can't lay it all at his doorstep. And I know we've talked all about
you
that.
can't. Of course,
And
you can't.
And it goes beyond even your offensive line. It's your scheme. It's your system. It really is. And you can take him and put him in a different system. I mean, he's got a big time arm.
He does.
I know he overshoots a few guys and whatever, but you get him comfortable back there.
quarterback for the 49ers.
Is he the first backup?
Yeah.
Wow, good for him.
Yeah.
I don't get to see the Niners much. By the way, I tried to watch the Bears and the Washington.
It was
team
hard to
last night.
watch.
Well, it was hard to watch, but I didn't have a good internet connection. I stopped watching it after about 20
Did you?
minutes. It was just painful.
Well,
Did you have the problems? in your neighborhood?
MediaCom
No.
saved you then.
Oh, Mediacom.
I wish I would have had bad internet connection.
I know
It was-
you're a Bears fan.
It was
that didn't
ugly.
look good, did it?
It
What I
was
did see.
ugly.
I
I mean, it came down, it was an exciting finish at the end, but where the wide receiver had a chance to catch it right on the end zone line.
Mhm.
And if you'd have caught it right away, it would have been a touchdown, but he bobbled it. And then when he came down and controlled the ball, he was actually out of bounds. And so, and that was the last play of the game. Bears lose. So, yeah. And Washington Commanders, they were just as bad, maybe even worse, but they got lucky because the Bears fumbled a punt on the 5-yard line. That's how they scored.
Oh,
So, but yeah, it was an ugly game. It was 3-0 at halftime, and yeah, ended up, I don't know, 12-6 or something
12
like
to
that.
7, I think.
12-7, yeah.
So, Nevin, I guess I don't know if you have a favorite protein.
I really don't.
Mm.
Yeah. It just depends. No, but I really don't.
Do you watch pro ball or?
I'll watch occasionally. I'll watch, but it's got to get a little later in the year at times. You know, if the weather's nice, I'm not too big into it. I just don't. But I watch because of fantasy.
Yeah, there you go.
By the way, I'm 4-1. If anybody's wondering,
We were all wondering, Nevin.
you gonna make it?
No.
Jeez.
Dial 911.
Yeah.
Anybody want to do the Heimlich? Oh no.
Oh God.
Oh, God, no,
Woo,
please.
I'm
How
out.
about a little mouth to mouth, boys? Want to tongue with me today? Oh, I know you do. I know you do.
And Michael Devine died on the air with his
Yeah.
two co-hosts
Well,
during
yeah.
the sports show as they watched him choke to death. Said, "There ain't no way.
Yeah, ain't no way.
There ain't no way."
Speaking of dying, Bruce Sutter died.
I know it.
Wow.
He's only 69.
69. Did you see a picture of him? He looked like he was 89.
No, I did not see a
I
picture,
didn't.
but
Yeah.
God, that was I remember Bruce Sutter,
I
boy.
do too. Yeah.
And it was a split finger fastball
Yes,
that he
yep,
threw.
split finger
Yeah.
fastball.
He was washed up until he learned that split finger fastball.
Yeah, and then he was unhittable with that thing.
Yeah, he was.
Another former Cub
Yeah.
who started with the Cubs and went on to.
But he had a great career with the Cubs, though.
Yeah, he did.
Better with the Cards because he won a World Series. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah. But he was good with the Cubs.
Yeah.
He was he was one pitcher that I would, if I knew he was going to pitch, I'd see if I could tune into the game because he was that good.
Yeah, he was great.
Well, he kind of invented that pitch, didn't he?
He learned it from a minor league
Yeah,
pitching coach in the Cubs system.
right. He did.
Taught him it, but not a lot of people threw
No,
it back
no,
in the day.
No.
Well, he lost a little something on his fastball. He was
Yeah.
a fastball pitcher, so he was
Kind of like us mentally, right?
Yeah, kind of like really. So,
Yeah.
I don't have my fastball anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
But anyway, so this coach, as Nevin was saying, said, "Well, if you can't throw that hard anymore, try this."
Yeah.
And he was in the big leagues, a star in no time at all.
Yeah, it was great.
It was
a great story.
It was a great story. Just another guy from our generation who was a great athlete, and I sure enjoyed him.
Yep.
And he deserves to be remembered. That's for sure. Because I think he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
That I don't. I
You
don't
know, if he isn't, I feel like he should be,
Yeah,
but
I do
I'm
too.
not sure.
If anybody knows, 515-955-1400 was Bruce Sutter, or is Bruce Sutter in the Hall of Fame? I think he is.
So we're going to talk about Iowa State.
Oh yes.
Oh,
yeah. Well,
okay.
let's do that right now.
All right.
Yeah.
Here's my, and I don't know that Iowa State can win the game, but I think they're going to make it a tough game.
I think.
And I'll tell you why. Because I think it's a trap game for Texas. They just came off a huge emotional win over their big rival, Oklahoma. They've had two really good games in a row. They clobbered, was it West? Who did they clobber by? I don't know. The game before the Texas game, they clobbered somebody. And then they beat the heck out of Oklahoma. And I just think sometimes these teams that are full of 4- and 5-star athletes, their biggest challenge is getting them up for every game. And I got a feeling it's a good time for Iowa State to come in to Texas Stadium or not Texas Stadium, whatever they call that stadium down there in Austin, but and give them a heck of a tough game. And sometimes if you play a really good team and play really well, or even maybe upset them, that can turn your whole season around for a football team. And so it'll be interesting to see if they can, because Iowa State's got a very good defense, and I'll tell you why I'm convinced of that, because they shut down Kansas in the second half, and then I watched Kansas play a good TCU team and move the ball up and down the field on a pretty good TCU defense
with their second team quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Basically.
So I was convinced that, man, this is, and then they handled Kansas State pretty well too. Defensively, they did. They struggled offensively.
I feel like Iowa State the last 2 weeks have lost games that they may have been the better team. Should have won.
I think so.
Should have won.
Kansas game.
Right. No, I agree. I said it after the game. I was happy KU won, but I mean, I thought Iowa State should have won the game. Obviously, you missed 3 field goals.
Oh.
I mean, and they absolutely, as Randy said, they shut down Daniels in that Kansas offense in the second half. They were going nowhere. And so K-State game, I thought Deckers came out, was on fire, and their controlling time of possession was at much. I want to say it's 10 minutes or more. I don't know what it was, but it was a lot more than what K-State had. And yet they lose that game. And Iowa State is funny about close games. And I'm being nice. But I went back and looked last year and this year so far, if I'm not mistaken, in 7-point games or less, they are 3-7.
I didn't know they were even 3-7. I thought they were worse than that, but you might be right.
Yeah, I was just, as I was watching that K-State game last Saturday night, I was just going, man, this is the same old, same old. This team is getting beat by a team that I really think they've outplayed and they should win the game, but they don't. And so,
and sometimes they lose the games by really unusual things. I mean, the Kansas game, the guy hits the goalpost twice.
Right.
What are the chances of that happening?
I don't think the odds of that are, I'm sure,
exactly.
are remote. Yeah.
And then secondly, against Kansas State, their All-American outstanding wide receiver drops a fairly routine catch that could have.
He can make that catch any day of the week.
They might win that game. Yeah.
Right.
And he happened to drop it, which is just bizarre that would happen. It's almost like they're cursed or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's
well, the Iowa State fans think they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I know it. It's just, but they're, if they win those 2 ball games, which we all think they should have, I don't think it's a stretch to say they should have.
Oh yeah,
they're cooking with gas because their defense is very good. It's the best Iowa State defense I've seen in Campbell's era.
Interesting enough, with all the good players they lost off of last year's defense.
Yeah,
you're right. I think they're better this year than they were last year.
Totally.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because they lost both safeties.
Mike Rose, they're
All-American
Big 12.
The Hummel kid who's playing in the NFL right now this year. And then that Uziki or whatever his name was, the big defensive lineman that was a 4-year starter for him.
Right.
He's in the NFL. I mean, they lost some really good players, and yet they've reloaded on defense. And I think obviously Haycock, however it's pronounced, he's got to be considered one of the best defensive coordinators. We got 2 of the best defensive coordinators in the country right here in our state with Parker and Haycock.
Right.
Has Matt Campbell worked out? This is his
heck
year.
Yes.
This is his 8th year. Are we satisfied with Matt Campbell?
Oh, yeah.
He's built it into a legitimate football program.
Right.
Now, saying that, I think the bloom's off the rose a little bit this year with this kind of year he's having this year and last year. Last year, they had 3 preseason first-team All-Americans. I've never seen any team in Iowa or Iowa State have that before. And I really thought, man, this is a year for Iowa State in a big way. And it didn't pan out at all. I thought they were a disappointment. But I will tell you, it may be all good that they're, that the bloom's off the rose a little bit, because I do think he's a really good football coach. I love to listen to him. I feel like he gets it, and so I enjoy listening to him, and I enjoy watching him coach, and it may keep him at Iowa State because somebody like Nebraska or Wisconsin might just go a different direction because he's having kind of a mediocre year right now.
That's what I thought. He blew his. If he was looking to go to a bigger program like Nebraska or Wisconsin, I think this year's cooled off that sort of talk. Nebraska is really looking. Nebraska always wants to hit a home run. You know, I don't know who they're looking at.
They're always swinging.
You're the guy with the Nebraska connection. Do you know anything about this?
Sure.
Of course you do.
Well, Rule now is in play in a big way. That just got fired by Carolina in the pros, and then you've got Aranda from Baylor, which would be interesting if he took the Nebraska job, because then you might see Matt Rule back at Baylor. Who would have ever thunk that?
Yeah, that's true.
And then of course you've got Leipold from Kansas and Matt Campbell, O'Brien from Alabama. But nobody knows for sure who or what they're looking at. Though I did hear this week that it was Aranda. They really are hot
I did hear
for.
that too.
Is that right?
Yeah, Ronda.
Well, he was a hot name a couple of weeks ago, and then all of a sudden you started hearing about Rule, and so it kind of varies. But if Aranda is back on the talk with the chatter,
So I just got a text from Brian Young, who's actually listening to our show today. So
why wouldn't he?
He never has before.
Yes, he has. He's actually called in.
No, that's Kirk. This is his brother Brian, who I work with.
Brian. Oh,
Well, Brian said, but he got cut off. He said, I got the first 15 to 20 minutes, then Ferentz cut the feed.
I tell you,
bring that guy along with you sometime.
Ferentz has got a lot of power in this state. He does.
Lord. Who has a lot of
Ferentz?
He does, and
yeah.
I don't get it. I just
He's been pretty successful. I mean, he really has. I know you don't want to say that, but he has.
I guess I have to. We've talked about this several times before. I have too many expectations. I would like us to have 2 or 3 years where we're actually Ohio State. I really want us to be a top team. I know Iowa, the Hawkeyes are usually, not this year, but in the preseason polls are usually in the top 20. And of course, Colin Cowherd says they're way overrated. And sometimes I guess
he's usually right,
and he's usually right. That's exactly what I was.
And he gets all those Iowa folks so revved up.
So riled up.
He
but
does.
He's right. I mean, they're in the top 20 a couple of years, and
We were ranked number 2 in the country last year at one point in time.
Yeah.
Number 2.
I remember. Yeah.
Think about that.
Yes,
That's amazing.
It's ridiculous. Is what it is.
It's fun. Boy, everybody enjoys it. I tell you what, people take this football very seriously.
Oh, they do.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then we're 3 weeks into the season, and I was out of the top 20. Bang, just like that. I don't know.
And see, they kind of played up. Well, we had an off year with our offense last year. We're going to be a lot better this year, and they're a lot worse.
Oh,
And
they're terrible.
that's just made it even worse with the piling on, because it's like, gee, you told us you were going to be a lot better. You had Petrus coming back. They kept talking about how great a summer he had. Remember that?
Well, but the one I really get a kick out of, maybe, and you'll remember this, is they got the ex-Wisconsin offensive coordinator as a consultant. They said, what a godsend. Well, I don't know. He may not get another job.
Yeah.
Putting that on his
He's
resume.
kinda ruined his career.
Offensive consultant.
Yeah, in Iowa. You don't want
Yeah, for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Sorry, not interested.
yeah.
Oh, here it is. The meet the worst starting quarterback in college football. Here it is.
Yeah, that's tough stuff, man.
It is tough.
What's that on?
Well, here I'll text it to you guys.
I don't want to read it. I don't.
Yes,
care.
you do.
No, I really don't.
Yes, you will.
I tell you what, I this whole college athletics, people take this stuff a little too serious.
Oh, you guys and
I like it. I mean, I pay attention, but I don't lose any sleep over it.
And I don't boo the quarterback.
God, no.
I'll boo the coaches, but I won't boo the quarterback. But
I don't.
like I said, I've always been a strong defender of Kirk Ferentz, and I'm just disappointed this year. I just feel like he's really dug his heels in, and he's mad. Obviously he's getting clobbered too, and with the press and everybody else, and it just appears like instead of he's just stubborn, and
This
Yeah.
isn't stubborn. This is something else. This is arrogance. I understand stubbornness. I understand I got a plan. I'm going to work with it, but this is flat out arrogance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
This is try to fire me. You'll owe me $42 million.
yeah. Thanks. You can thank Barter for that.
Yeah. Well, and you talked about we got to trace this back. Is it really Ferentz or is it Barta? I mean, who does that? Who puts a
What?
contract like that together?
Well,
For
it
a
takes
coach
two
who
to
will
tango.
I know. Well,
Yeah.
absolutely. But Ferentz isn't going anywhere.
I agree.
No.
I mean, we got to sign this man up. For fear he'll go somewhere else. Somebody will look at our record and the good thing we got at Iowa, and they'll want to come in here and take Coach Ferentz. Who?
Yeah.
Well, at that age,
Yeah, at his
Yeah.
age.
yeah, that's the thing. I mean, if he was 10 years younger, okay, I think he has the resume that people would be very interested in him, whether it be pro or college. But not at this age.
I told you before this story many years ago that when Michigan hired Rich Rodriguez and Lloyd, who was
Carr.
Lloyd Carr
Lloyd
was
Carr,
his predecessor, and Ferentz's name came up to be approached about being the head coach, be the head coach of Michigan, and
Bo.
no,
Oh,
the president of Michigan, who had been the
Oh, the
president
hat
of the University
lady.
of Iowa, said, "We're not talking Kirk Ferentz. Forget it." Never gave a reason, but she laid down the law. We are not recruiting Kirk
Yeah.
Ferentz to be the head coach.
well,
of
they
Michigan.
may not want to recruit in conference. I mean,
Right.
Or she might have known something about parents.
no,
Well,
I don't think so.
I
So
was.
they hire-
I'll just say this: I was glad Michigan took her from Iowa. Believe me, that's a whole nother story.
What was her name?
but-
Mary, not Mary Chapin
No.
Carpenter. She's a singer, but her name was something.
I think
like-
it was Karen Carpenter.
Yeah,
yeah.
God rest-
Oh, don't get me.
Oh God.
It was Mary Sula Kinney or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it was some
Some
weird.
No.
weird name like that.
No, that's
What
I-
was her name then? Come on over there.
It's on the tip of my tongue,
Yeah.
but along with about five
I
other
just remember her
names.
as the hat lady.
Mary
yeah.
Sula Linney or something.
No, she
Well,
worked out of
yeah,
Central.
no, not.
You know, but
It wasn't Mary Chapin Carpenter, you don't think?
No,
No.
it was not.
yeah.
Anyway, she would not allow any talk of Kirk Ferentz. And they rate in conference, don't they? I mean, come on.
No,
Not
you don't see
really.
it very
Not
often.
very often,
They
no.
don't. You know, I mean, I would think that would be insulting to the Michigan fan base. We're going to go to Iowa to get our coach. It could be.
Yeah.
It could be that genius,
That could-
Urban Meyer, and they
Yeah,
wouldn't do it.
That
Right.
could have been. We got to talk local sports a little bit. The Dodgers are headed to Denison. Apparently, they're still in the playoff picture. I don't know how they did it, but
No, they're
still,
not. Are they?
Yeah, they're still in the.
The
playoff
Dodgers
picture.
are.
Yeah, Hank Ambrose was in here a little earlier and told
That's
me
what the
about it.
paper said today.
Yeah, the paper said that today.
I know the Gales are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't like St. Ed's chances tonight. By the way,
Yeah, that team looks
yeah,
awful
it's
good.
a good team, and they lost
This
the
is
Schaefer
Gretinger,
kid.
Gretinger, Terrell, and Ayrshire, GTA, or whatever they call them. Isn't that it?
I think you're right.
Yeah, Gretinger, Terrell.
They've only
Those
got
little
one
schools
loss.
up there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
They're
they
a good team.
beat West Bend, who handled us pretty easily.
Right, and they beat West Bend.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
So, but
that game's
you never
in
know.
town, isn't it? Isn't that?
Yeah,
game
It
in
is.
town?
It's
Dodger
out of
Stadium.
Dodger Stadium
Yeah.
tonight.
So hopefully, you never know about football. It bounces weird sometimes. So hopefully they'll get a good bounce. You never know. But
Going to take a lot of good bounces,
yeah,
I think, but we'll see. Nah. And then it's kind of good news, bad news. If you do get into the playoffs with a record similar to St.
Yeah.
Ed's, or for God's sakes, Dodgers, look out, because you're going to draw one of the top seeds,
I see.
and you know
yeah.
that's tough duty. Okay.
The first game that Fort Dodge had, and I saw that Carver kid, I thought Fort Dodge is going to have a hell of a year because that Carver kid,
Good quarterback.
good quarterback, great arm, tough kid, doesn't take any stuff from the defensive line, all of those things, but it just didn't really happen as well as I had hoped.
He's
for the Dodgers.
performed well.
He has performed well.
Yeah.
He's very good.
Yes.
Yeah, I think he's a junior. I think he's
Oh, he's
Senior.
senior.
Is he? Doggone.
Do you ever read The Messenger?
No, I try not to.
I know.
Not
Okay,
sure.
no, and not because of that, but if you did, you'd know he's going to Bemidji State.
Yeah.
Oh, he is. I didn't
Yes,
know that.
yes.
No.
Every
Division two.
every
Which is
other
good
sentence
football.
they let you know he's going to Bemidji State.
Well, that's great for the young man, but
It is. I know.
Bemidji State. I mean,
Oh, it doesn't matter. No, that's a good program.
That's a good program. It's a
It
good
is.
school.
Playing
Beautiful
yeah.
school
all right.
up in Minnesota.
Yeah. What happened to the coach's son a few years ago?
Oh, Miller. is-
Drake Miller.
Yeah,
Drake Miller.
he's,
Miller.
He's still down at Grandview.
I
isn't
think
he?
he's still
Is
at
he still at
Grandview. Yeah.
Grandview?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Yep.
Mosley, who was, I think, Miller's favorite receiver, he's down in Oskaloosa, whatever school. that is.
William Penn.
William Penn, that's right.
Yeah,
He's having a nice
he's
year.
having
Yeah,
a
he
very
is.
nice year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
His dad sends me the link to
Oh.
watch the game online every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Do you watch?
Yeah, I do. I watch a little bit of it. Yeah. You know, I watch a lot. I think I watch too much TV as it is, so I don't want to spend a lot of time
Yeah.
in front of the TV. You know, but because I'll be watching tomorrow, of course, the Cyclones. And
I don't even know what time does Cyclones play tomorrow.
You know,
I guess
I don't
I haven't looked, but
I haven't either. And
so
I tell you what, conference wise, that Big 12 is really a tough conference this year in football. There is so much parity there. Every one
Parity.
of those teams I look at that they can beat each other every other week, every weekend. I mean, it's a toss up. It's a pick 'em.
yeah.
From top to bottom. That's a deep conference.
you're right. We're running out of time, so I want to give major propers to Randy's old school, the Humboldt Wildcat.
Big game
That's
tonight,
right.
Yeah,
by
they
the
got a
way.
big game tonight.
Yeah, they're playing Webster City, aren't they?
No.
no, they're not playing. Who are they playing?
Nevada, I believe.
Yeah.
And Nevada's ranked.
Oh,
sixth.
that's right, Nevada. They are playing Nevada.
Yeah, Nevada. And they have not had an easy schedule.
No,
They've been
they haven't.
knocking off tough teams, boy.
including Webster City.
Yeah.
They beat Webster City in the opener,
Yeah,
7-0.
but aren't they ranked number one? You said
They're
that,
ranked-
didn't you?
Yeah, they're ranked
tied.
number one. The register has them ranked number 2 behind Harlan, but in the RPI, they're ranked number 1. So if they were, they're ranked as the number 1 seed right now in 3A.
Harlan's very good too. They're very close, but
Yeah.
boy, Humboldt, they've really had a great year.
They really
Humboldt's
have.
tearing it up. And I understand that Coach Dresser, the Iowa State wrestling team, is going to have the Cyclones wrestle another major school in the Humboldt gym this year. I hope that's true. Thanks, guys. It's 5 o'clock.
All
The
right.
news
Thanks,
is
Mike.
next.
Straight Talk on Life and Money. This is the Dave Ramsey Show on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Keeping DACA in place for now. I'm Rich Dennison, Fox News. A federal judge who ruled last year a program protecting hundreds of thousands of young immigrants from deportation was illegal is allowing the policy to proceed with new limits.
The Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program was first put in place during the Obama administration to provide legal status for immigrants brought to the U.S. illegally as children. District Judge Andrew Hainan says there can be no new applicants to the program, but those already in the program may renew their applications. The current version of DACA, implemented by the Biden administration, was created to improve its chances of surviving legal scrutiny. It is set to take effect at the end of the month.
Fox's Jared Halpern on Capitol Hill. Russia is evacuating civilians from the occupied Kherson region of Ukraine as Moscow's military ramps up missile attacks.
As fighting intensifies on the southern front, Russian-backed officials are actually asking civilians to evacuate. Already millions of residents have had their lives changed forever. Russian President Vladimir Putin is suffering extensive battlefield losses and has now shifted to an even more brutal campaign against heavily populated areas.
Fox's Trey Yingst is in Kyiv, Ukraine. Investigators say they haven't yet determined a motive in yesterday's shooting in Raleigh, North Carolina by a 15-year-old suspect that left 5 dead.
Ranging from 16 years old to 52 years old, including a 29-year-old off-duty police officer. Police say the suspect is in critical condition. They won't say if police shot him, if he shot himself or got injured in any other way.
Fox's Rich Edson is in Raleigh. The Justice Department today asking a federal appeals court to overturn a judge's appointment of an independent arbiter to review documents seized during an FBI search of former President Trump's Florida estate. He was assigned last month by a federal judge in Florida. America's listening to Fox News.
You've got advanced prostate cancer, but you're not waiting around. You want straight talk, the facts about Orgovyx.
Orgovyx Relagolix 120 milligram prescription tablets is a treatment for adults with advanced prostate cancer. Fact: Orgovyx is a different kind of androgen deprivation therapy treatment, a pill, not an injection. Orgovyx may cause serious side effects, including a heart condition called QT prolongation. Tell your doctor right away if you feel dizzy, faint, have a racing or pounding heart, or chest pain. Orgovyx can cause harm to an unborn baby or miscarriage. Use birth control during treatment and for 2 weeks after Orgovyx treatment. The most common side effects include hot flushes, increased blood sugar and blood fat levels, muscle and joint pain, decreased blood hemoglobin levels, increased liver enzymes, tiredness, constipation, and diarrhea. Other side effects include weight gain, decreased sex drive, and erectile function problems. Orgovyx may cause infertility. Talk to your doctor if infertility is a concern for you.
Go with Orgovyx. Ask your doctor. For more facts, visit gowiththefacts.com.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.